had given you some homework. Who has done it?
Section 9A.
9A. And to be compared with
8B.
Section 8B of the
Customs
Tariff Act. Read that?
No, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, right. We are.
When you do it simultaneously, it gives you extra confidence that yes, things are interconnected. Okay. So now let us get ahead with the syllabus, what we were doing. This is what we were talking about. Up to Section 9A, we had already done. And this is about the quantitative restrictions that the government can impose on import of certain articles, because there is an increase of import and that increase is affecting the domestic industry seriously. But any such restriction can be imposed only after proper inquiry being done by the government. So this way I had compared that along with Section 8B of the Customs Tariff Act. So provisions are almost identical. Even the period of 4 years and 10 years, that is also identical as in the Section 8B. So these are two different provisions altogether. We cannot say that either government can put this condition or a government can impose that duty. Both of the things can also be there at the same time. There can be quantitative restrictions as well as there can be a safeguard duty under Section 8B. Both of those can be there at the same time. Right? Now let us go to Section 10. This is seizure, search, penalty, and confiscation. Right? So this is always a sequence: search, seizure. And by chance, if arrest comes, then that comes after this only. Right? Or confiscation comes after the seizure only. It cannot be other way around. Seizure means taking away the possession. And confiscation means taking away the ownership. So when the goods are seized, thereafter there is a procedure for giving the notice, opportunity of representation, etc. And then only comes confiscation. Directly cannot be confiscation. So Section 10 says power relating to search. The central government may by notification, the official gazette, authorize any person for the purpose of exercising such power with respect to. Now, what is the title? Title is search, seizure, penalty, and confiscation. So basically, this Section 10 is giving the power to enter into any premises. Which premises that we are going to refer? So those are either relating to goods or those are relating to services. Or maybe those are relating to some records. So it is not random. So there must be some relation with the goods or the services in relation to which the provisions are applicable. Only then this is applicable. So the power given is entering such premises. Now this such word also plays a very important role. So power does not become random. So they can go anywhere. No, they have to have some kind of information, some kind of basis before exercising the power. So such premises where goods are kept. What are these goods? Which type of goods are these?
import or export.
Liable for
Restricted
confiscation.
goods.
Either imported goods or to be exported goods. So those may be traded goods, those may be manufactured goods, but ultimately those are having relation with the import and export. So goods are kept, stored or processed, manufactured, traded or supplied or received for the purpose of import or export. So unless there is a relation with the import and export, provisions of the section will not be applicable at all. So this is entering into any such premises where the goods are kept, stored or processed or manufactured or traded or supplied or received, but for the purpose of import or export. And searching, inspecting and seizing of the goods. So first is entering into the premises. What is the purpose? Finding the goods. And when goods are found, then comes next seizing the goods. If goods are not found, what can be seized? Logically speaking, if goods are not found, nothing can be seized. So when entering into the any of the premises where the goods are either stored or processed or manufactured or traded or supplied or received in connection with the import-export. And if the goods are found, then such goods can be seized. Document things and conveyance connected with the import-export of goods as well. So not only the goods, seizing of what can be seized?
Conveyance and documents.
Goods, documents, any other things related therein, plus the conveyance also which is used for the transportation of those goods. All these can be seized. Similarly, the next clause is in relation to services. This clause is for what? This clause is in relation to goods.
Goods.
Next clause is in relation to services or technology. So this is entering such premises from which the service or technology are being provided, supplied, received, consumed, or utilized, and searching, inspecting the seizing of the goods. Document things, conveyance connected with the import, export of service and technology, subject to such requirement condition with the approval of the officer. But where the provisions become applicable in relation to service, that condition will be applicable. So provisions of this act as well as foreign trade policy are applicable in relation to services only if the service provider is availing any kind of incentive provided under the scheme, or the services are the specified services or technology. Only then provisions are applicable, not in general. So there may be a service provider who is not availing any of the incentive schemes under the foreign trade policy, and then the services are not the specified services, then provisions will not be applicable. So this is provided that the clause B shall be applicable in case of import of the import, or this word should have been or. So this is a typing error actually. Import or export of services or technology only when the service or technology provider is availing benefit under the FTP or is dealing with the specified services or specified technology. So this is a standard paragraph everywhere, wherever we are referring in this act. So any of the provisions of this act will become applicable in relation to services only if the service provider is availing any of the incentives under the FTP, or the services are specified services or specified technology. Otherwise, in general, provisions do not apply to services. But as far as goods are concerned, how many categories we divided the goods? Goods we divided in 3 categories. Free. Number 2, regulated. Number 3, prohibited. Right. As far as service and technology are concerned, there are only 2 categories. Either allowed or those are specified, nothing else. Right. So those are not regulated. Those are either allowed or altogether not allowed. So if allowed, and if somebody wants to avail the facility, then the provisions will become applicable. So where it is not allowed, certainly that is directly a contravention, but where it is allowed, and then the person who wants to avail the facility, then FTP becomes applicable. Otherwise, FTP does not apply, or even this act also does not apply in relation to services. Then provisions of the CRPC will be applicable for carrying out any search. So this is always a standard clause in all the laws whenever providing for search and seizure. Then provisions of the Code of Criminal Procedure shall be applicable. Right? So what is there in Section 10? Section 10 says the government is empowered to notify, by notification make the authorize any person. Now, for what purpose person is being authorized? For entering into any premises. Which premises? In relation to goods. So which goods? Goods which are either imported or to be exported. Those are either received or those are supplied therefrom, those are manufactured or those are processed at that place. And along with the goods, what else can be seized? Documents. Other things, as well as conveyance used for that. And in relation to services, again, the premises where from services are being provided, those are being received, or those the instruments or the other things are installed there at, all those, plus what can be seized? All the goods, plus conveyance, plus documents, plus records, all those can be seized. And during the process of search and seizure, provisions of the Criminal Procedure Code will be applicable. Right? So can we convert that into the form of a chart? So section 10. This is search and seizure. Central government is empowered to authorize to carry out search and seize so in relation to goods, in relation to services, so in relation to goods, goods are received, supplied, processed, manufactured, traded, imported, import or export. In relation to services, any premises from where services are provided or consumed or received what can be seized? Goods, documents, other things, and also conveyance.
So what is other things?
Goods are specifically which are imported, exported, but other things which are used for manufacturing those goods or which are used for storage of those goods, which are referred as packages, right? So when we say goods, so manufactured, so good, we are not only the manufactured goods, even the good machinery used for the manufacture of those goods can also be seized. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
can we say that this is actually a combination of section 105, 18, 19, and 20? 105 in Customs Act is 105 is the power to enter premises, and 115 and 18 is to conceal that packaging, conveyances, and everything.
Yes, you are close to, very close to that. So that's why I want to make you understand that lots of provisions are similar. In this act, further, a lot other provisions are also similar to what is there in the Customs Act. That's why we say that all these provisions become applicable at the same time. But the difference is that here the administrative authority, adjudicating authority, appellate authority, and same authorities under Customs Act are different. So at the same time, action can be taken under the two different acts by the two different authorities. So this act doesn't have overriding power over the Customs Act. Customs Act doesn't have overriding power over this act. It means what? Both can work together at the same time. Right. So once these are search have been conducted and the seizure has been done, what is the next step? Logically speaking, what should happen?
Confiscation.
Confiscation is the end.
So
In between what?
notice.
SCN should be issued.
Exactly.
Burden of
In
proof.
between, there will be show cause notice, and after that opportunity of representation, then confiscation order can be there. And in that case, also redemption fine is also there. You understand what is called redemption fine? Redemption fine, actually, the concept is under the Customs Act, where the goods are confiscated. The person is given a right to pay extra fine. So, what is the actual fine? There is one, plus he is required to pay extra fine in lieu of confiscation of the goods. That is called redemption fine.
Section
Right.
125.
Yeah, section 125, right. Okay, so there is a redemption fine that is also referred under this act. So lots of similarities in this act and the Customs Act. So once you read this act carefully, then while studying Customs Act, things will be a little easier. So after the search and seizure has been done, the next step is certainly issue of notice, and then there may be confiscation, there may be penalty, there may be both, and after that there will be appeals. Okay, now contravention of the provisions of this act, rules and orders, and the foreign trade policy, then what happens? What happens if there is a contravention? See this, straightway denial. No export import shall be made by any person except in accordance with the provisions of the act, rules and the orders made under this and the foreign trade policy for the time being in force. No import, no export in contravention of the provisions of the act and rules as well as the foreign trade policy. So, as a customs broker, you should know the foreign trade policy really well. Yesterday, we had shared some information about one custom broker being arrested for wrong declarations.
Yes, sir.
Milana?
Yes.
Right. Now, if you are representing him, how you can save him? How you can save him?
The person can plead that at the time of, export from UAE, he was not present and he is not, knowing what exactly into that container, whether it is cigarettes or whether it is A4 size papers. At the same time, he has relied on the documents, which he has scrutinized the documents properly, and he has done the due diligence of that.
That is more important clause. Actually, that is the more important clause.
Yeah.
Because
Each
he
and
is
every
required.
fact cannot be checked by the custom officer also, as well as the importer, exporter also, and the custom broker also.
Correct.
He's not a
Absolutely
party
correct.
he's not a party to that particular event. It can be.
And you know, the best part is in that case, even the inspection was done, and even after the inspection, the consignment was given out of customs order.
Cleared, yeah, cleared.
Right.
Yeah.
So even custom officials are also involved there.
Involved in that, yes.
So as far as custom broker is concerned, he can get it released very easily because he is simply relying on the basis of the documents provided by the client, and he has submitted the documents accordingly. Question is whether he has applied due diligence. Right. So prima facie, if those are fake documents, how we can rely on those documents? But if there is a reason to believe the documents are correct, then he can certainly rely on documents, and there will be a release. So that's why I told you that regulation number 10 must be read by every custom broker at least once in a month. Every custom broker must read that. Okay. So read this subsection 1. What is said here? Why anybody should read the foreign trade policy?
It is a guideline for import and export. That is why one should very well should aware of the import-export policy and foreign trade policy.
Okay. Good. Let's see, there is a lot of disturbance outside. I will be back in 5 minutes. Just hold on. Okay. So that is section 10, and now under section 11, what we have already said is that there is no import or export shall be made. So it is a clear directive. it is already starting with the no import export shall be made. So this is a very clear instruction that if there is a violation of the provisions of this act or the rules or the order or the foreign trade policy, import export shall not be made. Otherwise, serious penalties, which we will see later. Where any person makes or abets means what?
Help.
Helping somebody else. So not only doing this thing, but even helping somebody. Yes, Mr. Deepak.
Sir, I was just reading a simple case. There was a case there was a case of abetment actually. The question I wanted to ask, I've just written it. In that particular case, there was a CHA who took an order from a freight forwarder. He was not directly in touch with the exporter. Now, there was some prohibited items that were, maybe sandalwood was there, which was found at the time of export when the consignment was sent. Now, the case was there that CHA was made responsible initially. And when he went for an appeal, it was adjudicated that he is not, he's not the one who's abated the thing. And he was basically let off. So there was a confusion. Now the word abatement comes here also. Is the CB supposed to know the exporter directly or not? Because the
Intention.
Okay.
It is intention. You see the regulation number 10, what it says. Regulation 10 says if he is appointed by somebody, just 1 minute, there is again police officer. So as per regulation number 10, first thing is, he should have a proper authorization from the person on whose behalf he is functioning. So even if he is appointed by the forwarding agent, still he should have some authorization from him. Number 2, he is relying on the documents provided to him, right? And when it is a containerized thing, question is he required to get the goods containerized in his presence? Certainly not. Right. So the question of abatement comes only when he is intentionally involved into that activity. Only then it will come, otherwise not.
Got it, sir.
Okay.
So basically, my question: whether he is required to be there when the packing is being done or not?
Not at all.
He has to totally rely on the documents. That's it.
Rely on document plus take a due diligence, right?
Okay.
So the person, somebody, as is the case of red sandalwood, right? So the person who is exporting, he is an exporter of the furniture in general, and the documents given to him that these are the furniture is being exported. Nothing wrong about that. Now somebody who is exporter of steel and today he is exporting the furniture, then there may be a reason for going into the little bit more details, right? So due diligence, this is good enough that the person has been regularly exporting the same kind of material, and today also he is given the same kind of documents. Now, by chance, if he has stored something different than what is the declaration, then who has given the false declaration? Right. So false declaration is being given by the exporter, not by the custom broker. So where any person makes or abates or attempts to make any export or import in contravention of provisions of this act, or any rules or order made thereunder, or the foreign trade policy, he shall be liable to a penalty of not less than 10,000 rupees, or not more than 5 times the value of the goods or service or technology in respect to which contravention is made or attempted. How much penalty can be there? Minimum 10,000 is there. It can go up to 5 times of the value of the goods or services involved, in respect of which the false declarations are made. Right? So it is already said, number 1, It should not be anything in violation. And if it is done, then what happens? Immediately the repercussions are there. There can be penalty, minimum 10,000 rupees. It can go up to 5 times of the value of the goods or services in relation to which contravention has been made or attempted to be made. So even attempt is equally punishable. Not only committing the offense. If attempt is not punishable, then what? Then does it mean that do we wait till the offense has been committed? Even the person who is attempting to commit an offense, he is equally punishable here. Where any person signs or uses or causes to be made, signed or used any declaration, statement, document submitted to the DGFT or any other authorized by him under this act, knowing or having reason. Now, these words are very important. Deepak ji, dhyan dijiye in shabdon pe. Submitting the false document and submitting wrong document, there is a huge difference. Being wrong, then there is nothing wrong about that. If you are relying that the information is correct and you based on that you're giving the information, then that is a wrong information. That is not a false information. False means you know the correct thing and is still giving something wrong. Then that is called false. So what is punishable is knowing or having reason to believe that such declaration, statement, document is forged or tampered with or is false. Wrong, nowhere with using the word wrong. The wordings used are either forged or tampered or false in material particular. Some information being given wrong, right? But why wrong information will be given? Because he is relying that to be correct, right? Then only this kind of information is being given. Okay, so wrong information is not an offense. Question is when it is false. So either forged or tampered or false in material information, he shall be liable to penalty not less than 10,000 rupees and it can go up to 5 times of the value of the goods or services involved therein. So even submission of the wrong documents also can involve the same penalty. Now, where any person on a notice to him by adjudicating authority admits any contravention, now this is something simplified. Highest amount of penalty is already given. Minimum penalty is already given. What should be the exact amount? What should be the exact amount? How you will interpret this? Where any person on notice to him by the adjudicating authority admits any contravention, the adjudicating authority may, in such class or classes or cases and in such manner as may be prescribed, determine by way of settlement an amount that is to be paid by that person. So that depends upon
Adjudicating authority.
Satisfaction.
satisfaction of the office. So we'll not go into the details of satisfaction, but so much of discretion is given, then certainly the matter of dissatisfaction comes in between. Next, a penalty imposed under this section if it is not paid by the person will be recovered. Now, this provision is almost similar to section 142 of the Customs Act. Recovery of the sums due. How the sums are recovered? Any amount due from any person under the Customs Act, how it is recovered? For that, number of steps are given under section 142 and almost all of them are repeated here. So this is a penalty imposed under this act if it is not paid. When comes the question of recovery? The question of recovery comes only when this is not paid. Right? Now there are multiple modes, and you can say that this is a sequence also in which this power should be exercised. Number one, the Director General may deduct or require any officer subordinate to him to deduct the amount payable under this act from any money owing to such person which may be under his control or the officer. So by chance, if there is any money which is payable by the DGFT to the person concerned, then an amount can be deducted therefrom. First is by making deduction. But for making the deduction, amount should be available. If this is not there, then the next thing is The Director General may require any officer of custom to deduct the amount payable under this act from the money owing to such person which is under his control. So if the amount is not there with the Director General, but the amount is there with the custom officer, then that custom officer will be required to deduct the amount and pay to the creditor of the Director General. DGF. First is by making the deductions. Amount available. Number 2, requiring the custom officer to make the deduction. Number 3, the Director General may require the Assistant Commissioner OEC or DC of Customs, because this person, as far as DGFT is concerned, he is not present anywhere other than the office. But custom officials are always there. They always have a right to carry out the search and seize the goods. So this is the Director General may require the AC or DC of the Customs or any officer of the Customs to recover the amount so payable by how it is done, detaining or selling any of the goods, including the goods connected with the service or technology belonging to such person, which may be under the control of ACDC. Now, this is something dicey, belonging to such person. Now, what do people do for avoiding this kind of action? Retrospective effect goods are sold to somebody else. I'm not the owner. How those can be seized? Right? So this kind of things happen. So detaining or selling of any of the goods, including the goods connected with the service or technology belonging to such person. Now, belonging to such person itself is a dicey issue. So third clause is detaining and disposal of the goods belonging to that person. Next, if the amount cannot be recovered in A, B, or C manner, then a certificate recovery comes. This is called a certificate recovery. The Director General or officer authorized by him may prepare a certificate signed by him specifying the amount due from the person, and it is sent to the collector of the district in which such person owns any property or resides or carries on business. District collector, where he is having any property or resides or carries on business, unlimited scope is there. And the said collector on receipt of the certificate shall proceed to recover the amount as if it is the arrears of the land revenue. So for recovery of the land, arrears of the land revenue, any property of the person can be disposed of by the collector, whether movable, immovable, whether it is connected with this or not connected with this, anything can be disposed of by him for the recovery of this amount. The Director General or officer authorized by him, including an officer of custom, who shall then exercise his powers under the Customs Act in accordance with the rules made in this behalf, detain any movable or immovable property. Now, this is detention. This is detention. This is not seizure, because they cannot confiscate any immovable property. They don't have a right. The right is limited only to the extent of goods. Goods are movable. But what is said herein? The Director General or any officer authorized by him, including officer of custom, who shall then exercise his powers under the Customs Act, and in accordance with the rules made in this behalf, detain any movable or immovable property belonging to or under the control of such person, and detain the same until the amount payable is paid. And if the said amount payable under the Customs Act, and in that case, any part of the said amount payable or the cost of the distress or keeping of the property remains unpaid for a period of 30 days, next after the distress, may cause the said property to be sold. So you can say the property is attached. This is referred as an attachment. So property can be attached, and if the amount is not paid within 30 days, then this can be sold also. So in general, the access does not go up to the property other than movable goods. But if the required, matter can go up to this stage also. So how many ways of the recovery of the amount? कितने तरीके मिले आपको? Under this section, this is section 11. This is talking about the penalties, right? So first it is saying the contravention. If there is a contravention, no import, export, and contravention of the provisions of the Act and rules and the foreign trade policy. If there is a contravention, then the penalty. How much can be the penalty?
10,000.
Minimum 10,000. It can go up to
5 times.
5 times. 5 times of the value of the goods or services in relation to which contravention is committed. And if the amount of fine is not paid, then it can be recovered. Then comes a mode of recovery. Okay. So section 11. This is talking about contravention. First point, no import or export in contravention of act, rules, order, and FTP. Number 2, penalty for contravention, attempt, as well as abatement. What is the penalty?
10,000.
10,000.
Minimum 10,000. Maximum
5 times the value.
Okay.
5 times of the value of the goods or services. If not paid, then comes recovery. And how many modes of recovery are there? So this one, I brought it up. Number A, deduction by DGFT. Number B, deduction by customs officers. Number C, detention and disposal of goods on the other side. Then we have issue of certificate, two, district collector. District collector of which place?
Where the property is present.
Where the property is, or the person resides, or carries on business, 3 things. Right. And then this district collector will have a right to recover the amount as areas of land revenue. Number 2, attachment of any property. This is only for 30 days. Otherwise, it will be disposed of and amount will be realized. So this is summary of section 11.
Sir, this DC can attach the property of family members also.
ये तो सब डिस्प्यूटेड इशू होते हैं, इसीलिए तो होता है मजे इंटरेस्टिंग चीजें। तो जो भी लोग बड़ा काम करते हो अपने नाम में कभी कुछ नहीं रखते।
But it mentioned that the property belonging to such person. It's clear.
Let's see. So this is section 11, for which I had given you the summary in total, and now we proceed further. Crediting the sums realized by penalty in the consolidated funds of India. So what will happen to the amount realized? It will go to consolidated funds of India, means money belonging to government. Empowering settlement commission for regularizing of the export obligation default. Now this is something important. What is export obligation? This is empowering settlement commission. Settlement commission is constituted under the Customs Act. Now Central Excise Act does not exist anymore. That's why we are talking about the Customs Act. Okay. For the regularization of export obligation default. What is export obligation default?
The remittance of foreign currency.
No. Export obligation. When comes export obligation?
Advance authorization and etc.
APCG में पढ़ा था सर.
Advance authorization or something.
Yes, advance authorization is also. EPCG also, there is export obligation, right? So just to give you the brief idea what happens. Under advance authorization, what can be imported? Raw material plus consumables. These can be imported for manufacture of the goods required for export. Right? Now, when these goods are imported, there are two obligations. First obligation is minimum value addition. Which shall not be less than 15%. And this should not be by way of trading. So real some work, some process should be carried out. And because of that, minimum value addition shall be 15%. And number two, export obligation. Export obligation in proportion of the value addition. So what is the meaning of export obligation here? Suppose you import these two things together for rupees 2 lakhs. Don't pay any duty on that. What will be the minimum export obligation?
2,30,000 minimum.
2,30,000, that is the minimum export obligation. Beyond that, if you export, welcome. Anything less than that, that is a default in export obligation. Right? For that, penalties are applicable. Penalty means duty plus interest, both are payable. Okay. In case of EPCG, what happens?
6 times
case of
export
EPCG.
obligation. 6 times of export obligation in 6 years, I guess.
6 times of the duty saved.
Yeah.
Export obligation is 6 times of the duty saved over a period of 6 years since the date license is given or authorization is given. If that obligation is not fulfilled, then the duty plus interest is demanded. So there comes the question of settlement commission. So settlement commission can handle with any subject matter related to duty. So in this case also there is a duty. So this is saying a settlement commission for regularizing the export obligation default. So by chance somebody has availed the scheme and tomorrow if he cannot export, what should happen? Should we stop him from doing the business forever? No. There's the process of regularizing the things. Charge the duty, charge the interest, charge a little bit of penalty also, and regularize. But who is having the right? The right has been given to the settlement commission. It is not given to the officer. Settlement of the customs duty and the interest thereon as ordered by the settlement commission, constituted under centralized, shall be deemed to be settlement under this act. So whenever there is a demand like this, matter can be settled through the settlement commission also. So what is settlement? That we will discuss in the Customs Act in detail. Okay. Now section 12. There's a no penalty of confiscation that this act shall prevent imposition of any other punishment to which person affected they were liable under any other law for the time being in force. So along with this act, at least Customs Act certainly becomes applicable along with this act. So penalty given here, and this is not sufficient. Penalty will also be there under the all other applicable laws. So I told you that this act doesn't have overriding effect over the Customs Act. Customs Act doesn't have overriding effect over this. So action can be taken under the two different laws at the same time. Section 12 is a confirmation of that. Right? Adjudicating authority. Who is adjudicating authority? I explained to you earlier. So under this act, who is the adjudicating authority? Basically, it is the DGFT. Unless the powers have been delegated to somebody else. So any penalty may be imposed or the confiscation may be adjusted under this act by the DGFT or subject to such limits as may be specified by the central government by an officer authorized for the purpose. So DGFT is unlimited powers. An officer below the DGFT can also be authorized, but within the limits specified, subject to such limits as may be specified. They are the adjudicating authority, right? So
what is ADJ customs? What does ADJ means?
Adjudicating.
Yeah. Okay, that's a short form.
Yeah. So adjudicating authority, that is referred as ADJ also. Okay. So any penalty may be imposed on confiscation may be adjusted under this act by the Director General or subject to the limits as may be specified in the notification by central government, but that officer below the rank of DGFT. So this is up to section 30. Okay. Now after this, not much is left, and tomorrow we'll put an end to this act, FTDRA. And I wish you, if you can read all the things till now, to whatever we had done. Basically, it is section 11, which is the most important thing today. Remaining things are not so important. Section 11, section 10 is okay. This you can read once and forget. But section 11 is important. Contravention, then what is the penalty and how the penalty is recovered. Is that fine?
Sir, sir, can one person be paralyzed 2 times by different 2 laws?
Why not? Unless it is clearly mentioned in the law that this is having overriding effect over other law.
So the penalty under this section can also lead to revocation of the license, because if we link it to the earlier clauses, any penalty, because we need to, you mentioned it in last 2 things, if the person is penalized for any of the offenses under this act or act under the Revenue Act, any of the things, then if the person is penalized and he agrees to pay the penalty, then can his license be revoked on that particular basis?
That is another law. Which one that was? What was that law?
That those are the regulations.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And today, this is the foreign trade policy law. Right.
Sir, does it come? My question was, does it come under the same revenue laws? Because
no, this is not revenue law. This is just regulating the policy, regulating import export only. This is not revenue law. No money generated from this act for the government.
So if a person, let's say a person is, okay, maybe I got confused because that was for the custom broker. This is for the person who is, okay.
Import
sorry,
export.
Yeah, I got it now. Yes. Got it,
okay, so there is a difference. Of course, if by chance, if the custom broker himself becomes a merchant exporter, then he is caught in both the cases. He is caught here also, he is caught there also.
Thank you.
Okay. So for remaining provisions, we are meeting tomorrow.
I had one doubt. Can I ask you?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
You are saying there are a lot of similar sections and that person can be doubly in FTDRA and Customs Act. But what would be the object of legislature to make one person, tax twice with penalties?
no two penalties. There are two different offenses. One is contravention of the requirement of the FTDRA in the foreign trade policy. Another is offense under the Customs Act. And that is in relation to the duty. So two different offenses, two different penalties. For a layman, there is one and same offense. But actually, legally speaking, there are two different offenses. I hope it is clear.
Okay, yes, sir.
So it's clear, but बार-बार भूल
Legally-
जाते हैं कि वो कौन सा था, ये कौन सा है.
अरे इतनी जल्दी अगर याद हो
Once
जाता.
we get used to it, yes.
Yeah.
And for me, anything related to finance is something very new. Never been in